warm welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike. In a bit, we'll be heading straight to our newspaper headlines to see all that we have for you this morning. And after that will be our main conversation also for today. But please do well to be part of our community. Have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're very honored to have with us today in the studios Mr. Dotun Oladipo. He is the publisher of Eagle Online. Good morning to you, Mr. Oladipo, and thank you so very much for your time.
Good morning, and having me once again. Good morning.
Thank you so very much. All right, so we'll be starting off with the Vanguard newspaper this morning, and on the very top strip we have Atiku Obi El-Rufai's attack on us, that is the APC. Pitiful, and that's coming from a spokesman of the Action People's Congress. And also still on that story, we have federal government deports 828 illegal immigrants. How Wike bankrolled Bala Mohammed's governorship campaign, and that's coming from Dogara. And we have a Trump immigration policy. 5,144 Nigerians face arrest, deportation from the United States. And we have the rider here, 3,600 among non-detained immigrants, 1,454 in detention for various offenses, and federal government interagency committee already in place, and that's coming from NITCOM. And also on the bottom strip of the Vanguard newspaper, also we have South governors declare support for Tinubu's tax reform. Governor Abiodun of Ogun State groups oppose Sharia in the southwest of Nigeria. Mr. Dotun, I'd love us to speak to the matter of immigration. Of course, it's a very trendy topic around the world, especially with the coming of Donald Trump. He has, of course, deported thousands of South Americans to their various countries. Nigerians, about 5,144 Nigerians face arrest and deportation from the United States. Speak to us on this particular issue.
Well, I think it's his country, so to say, and he's the president. Any action, any decision he takes, once the courts don't oppose it, then it becomes a law. If you recollect, on the day he resumed, January 20, we were told he signed over 200 executive orders, meaning that the man was actually prepared for those decisions, and he has been executing them. You will also recollect that there were certain places where they banned ICE, that's the immigration officials, from churches, hospitals, schools, and the rest. But he's opened it up. So anywhere you are, I saw a video online yesterday. I don't know if it's recent, but there was a black man who was being held by a policeman. Fortunately for him, the man was the ICE officer was holding his backpack, and the man just threw the backpack off and took off. So it's a tough season for those who left illegally or those who are staying in the US illegally, meaning that they have to watch how they go out. A lot of them will now start avoiding train stations, avoid bus parks. But how do you move around?
You will agree with me. Yes, you will agree with me that Nigerians, we do not have any border with the United States. So every Nigerian that leaves Nigeria to the United States, of course, went there legally. So why do you think about 5,000 plus are questionable with this particular issue?
Well, it's because they obviously have overstayed their visa. You know, people going with 3 years visa, even 6 months, 1 year, all they want to do is step in there and begin the process to regularize their stay. Unfortunately, a man has come who says, I don't even want to give you that opportunity to so do. And that's what he's pursuing now. So yes, you live legally, because some will say, I'm going on a 2 weeks holiday, they get a 6 month visa, some get up to 2 years. And because things have been made a bit difficult with the trend in migration now, before it was easy when you were not doing thumb printing, when you were not doing scanning, for you to be illegally in a place, send back your passport when it has expired, somebody puts in for you here, you are granted, the passport is then sent back to you for an extension. But now all of those have become almost impossible to do, because there are certain things that have been put in place that will ensure that you are in the country. I've been in the US Embassy one day, and a woman was, an elderly woman was denied visa. Why? Because the record showed that our son, who she said she was taken to the United States to try out an examination, not to school there, because she was actually asked. She said the son had already gained admission in Nigeria, but she also wanted him to see what writing an examination in the US looks like. But she left the son in the US. And that particular year, she came to extend her visa, because she still had like 4 months left on that visa, was to go and attend the boys' graduation ceremony. And the officer who interviewed her asked her, so madam, where is your son? This was a woman who has been going to the US since 1960s.
Wow.
And the officer asked her, where is your son? And then she couldn't answer straight. And the man said, your son is in the US. She said, yes, she should tell the truth, that she actually wants to extend her visa so that she could stay long enough to attend the boys' graduation ceremony. And there was only one language that kept up the interviewers' mouth. Madam, you lied to us. And as he was saying, madam, you lied to us, he was invalidating that visa that was still in focus and stamping every page where she had the US visa.
Wow.
Stamping it. So it's important that, like the federal government has been saying, if you want to go somewhere, go legally, so that such embarrassments won't come. I know it's a bit difficult to sustain that argument among those who feel that the country is tough. But going there and being thrown back home, I think is worse.
Very, very true. Yes, but speak to me on the issue of leadership now. For so many, they would ask themselves, this is not the United States they all know about, which of course Nigeria borrowed a presidential system of government from the United States of America, and due process is the way we used to know United States for. But the issue of executive orders becoming an epidemic right now, don't you think this is a bad precedent for especially African rulers to say, if the United States can have a series of executive orders, also I can equally do that without allowing issues pass through legislative chambers and others?
But even in Nigeria, we use executive orders now. So I think it's allowed in governance. But beyond that, my own regrets in all of this is that Nigeria should have been one of the countries that shouldn't require a visa to enter into some countries if we had continued with the trajectory that we had at independence. There are some countries all you just need is your passport and you walk in. The Americans won't ask, for instance, a Canadian to prove who is or the British, because what they carry is as equal or better than their own passport. So what I actually talk about all the time that we say this is, we lost it. We lost it because at the time, the Naira was stronger than the dollar. the Naira was stronger than all currencies worldwide. So how did we get to this point where even small African countries, they rubbish us? How did we get there? I'm not so worried about the executive orders because, like I said earlier, it's Trump's country. He has the right to decide on what he wants to do with the country, so far as he still has that mandate as president. But what are we doing about our own country in a way that once we have a green passport, we are allowed to walk in anywhere without being questioned? Because if we have really a country that is running properly, we don't need to go into another country and start hiding in order to survive. That's what a lot of people do. The kind of jobs that they can't do here is what they do outside. So executive orders or not, I'm worried about our own states, what we have done to ourselves as a country that has made us, when you go and scrutinize some of these people who are going to be returned, you find engineers, you find doctors, professionals, highly skilled ones among them who have gone there just to do anything in order to earn the dollar. Today, as at yesterday, we were told the Naira made some gains against the dollar, but it still remained 1,640 something Naira to a dollar.
Which of course doesn't make any sense still.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
I can hear you now.
So in the last few weeks or months, what people in the housing sector have been talking about is the fact that it's only those who are abroad that are able to buy houses now.
Very true.
Because they bring in a little dollar or pound or Canadian dollar, and it becomes big money for them to be able to afford it. So it's a real big issue that we need to deal with. We need to get our country on the right path so that the likes of Trump won't be a threat to us again.
Of course, Trump remains a threat. Just yesterday, to add to the worry, the list of issues that we have, Donald Trump actually withdrew every medical aid that used to come to Nigeria from the United States, which means, and of course, one of them is HIV, drugs, and every other issue that we were getting aids from. We have, of course, been ripped off of that particular deal. I do not know how we intend to make up for that deficit, but of course, that is the problem. But speaking about leadership, of course, let's talk about this other issue. Atiku Obi, El-Rufai attack on us, pitiful, and that's coming from the APC. You were talking about leadership and how that we didn't get it right from independence up until today. For us to fix this problem, it's very important that we have reputable people who are there to really strike the balance. The Vice President Shetima said we should not antagonize the government, rather we should speak truth to power. You are a media person. Please help us explain the difference between antagonizing someone and speaking truth to power. So is it possible to divide both?
I've always told people, if there is a party that should not speak about it being criticized, it should not be APC. It shouldn't. Because APC got into power via very, let me use the word, critical criticism of the government in power. If then when the APC was campaigning, if Jonathan should breathe heavily, that's the former president,
yes,
Goodluck Jonathan, it's a reason for the APC then to issue a statement. See the way the president is breathing, so APC should learn to accept this criticism, because it was what brought it into power. Everybody else is also doing things that will also allow Nigerians to know that APC is not doing. So what APC should be doing is to be offering good governance. When it does, yes, there will be criticism, but Nigerians will then be able to say, no, you are wrong criticizing this party this way. And that's what people want. Look at what the former Kaduna State governors, Nasir El-Rufai, said yesterday. He said, I'm not going to leave the APC. He was categorical.
Wow.
But he added, it's the APC that we started, I can't even recognize it again.
Whoa.
Meaning that the foundation that was laid has been crushed. So what happened between when APC was formed and now for an El-Rufai to say he can't even recognize that APC? Because it's a big question.
It's a big question, and Mr. Doctor, let's not forget, just a couple of years, not close to two years, El-Rufai was with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the UK when prior to the election. I can still remember vividly after he addressed, the press there, they came out and they were having fun and all that. What do you think has gone wrong between, the two good friends, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and El-Rufai?
Now, don't forget that El-Rufai headed a committee during the Buhari administration for the reorganization of the APC. Committee made very profound suggestions. Very profound. And that recommendation included the fact that the party should run based on its constitution. One of the things El-Rufai has met in 2 years. Vital organ of that party has met in 2 years. That's not a party. A political party meets periodically. Decisions are taken. It is not by fiat. It is not a one-man show. So when you look at a man who is saying, see, let us reorganize this party in a way that the party has a say in governance. Because anybody who is in government, at least until now, did not come in as an independent candidate. That person came in on the platform of a party. And that party has a constitution, it has a manifesto, it has a vision, it has a mission. Are they running it? Are they channeling it?
But don't you think,
yes,
but don't you think it's because we have made the president the leader of the party? Because the president is actually supposed to morph into the party, not the party morphing into the president. Because if the party produced the president, then the president should be answerable to the party. But it is opposite of the case. Don't you think this is the reason why our parties are neither here nor there?
Completely agree with you. Because even the El-Rufai that was criticizing was the head of the party in Kaduna State when he was governor. And that ordinarily shouldn't be. Because that party has a state chairman. Just like at the federal level, it too has a national chairman. But the big question you are going to ask now is, how will the chairman of a party, whether at the state or federal level, be able to look at the chief executive officer, whether the state governor or the president, in the eye when that person was appointed through the back door by the same people you are supposed to monitor? That's part of the recommendation. Let's get this party back on track. Let's go back to what we used to have, where the party was the one driving the manifesto of the government, and not the government on its own dictating to the party how it wants to run. For instance, we've had a lot of what Nigerians will call bats here and there in the ruling party at the federal level, or even within the party itself. And what should normally have happened is that a lot of the things over which there are contentions should have been discussed at several layers of the party before it comes into the public domain.
All right.
But most of the time, even party members are saying, we didn't even know when this decision was taken. I remember Mo Saliu, who left the party, a former national vice president for the Northwest. This was one of the things they complained about. Can we have a party that has order? Perhaps things will be better.
Very true.
When people are able to say, okay, this is what is the pulse in my own constituency. This is the pulse I've felt among my own constituents. Can we consider this? Can we consider that before we run with this policy?
Yes, and speaking of that, yes. Sorry for interjecting. Speaking of that particular issue, let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper in continuation of what you had to say here. Confab, how to make 2027 polls credible and acceptable. And we have the rider here. Rigging plans already unfolding. That's coming from Tambuwa. And APC is saying, as a rejoinder, that PDP conducted worst elections. Speak to us on this particular matter. Do you believe Tambuwa when he says that rigging plans are already in the pipelines for 2027?
Of course, we've always known that parties have their own ways of they get the best out of any election. So saying this is not something new. Everybody is already looking for a way in which they can win that election. So completely, he has said it, which is right, because he can't deny that PDP is also doing the same, not just APC. That's why over the years, the conversation has always gone in the direction of INEC, how to make the Independent National Electoral Commission truly independent. You know, look at the scenario we've had with this year's budget. This year's budget defense by INEC. INEC is requesting for a particular amount, and what has been approved is less than 1/3 of what it is requesting for to conduct a good election. So it's not so much about money anyway. It's also about the people who are involved in that system. But money is important to the extent that technology must be put in place.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
You know, in a way that you already have your infrastructure and every other thing you need in place. It's not just about the people alone who are going to do the process, because if you have all your ballot boxes foolproof and it doesn't arrive where it's supposed to be used, it's useless.
Very, very true. Now, I would love you to speak to this particular matter, if you may, in 60 seconds, please. If you take a look at the front pages of The Guardian, The Punch, and The Daily Trust, we have a very big congratulatory message from High Chief Dr. Government alias Tompolo, congratulating President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, speak to us. Do you think the media is slowly losing out and maybe becoming more commercial than it is about informing Nigerians? Because, of course, you don't make any sense from this congratulatory message from Tompolo, which, of course, we understand why he is doing this. Speak to us as a publisher. How do you think we can get the media to start doing the business of information?
Unfortunately, you can't do the business of information without money. You need money. So, and this is where these adverts come in.
But must it be on the front page? Must it really be on the front page? Because it's that's what is all over the place.
That's what the man paid for, what they call wraparound. That's what he paid for. At least that can pay the salary for a month or two. So it was what he paid for. I also don't like that idea of wrapping it around, but if that's what he paid for, then we must also know that the media is a business. It's not a charity. Seriously, it's a business, not a charity. We must accept that at this level. Of course, we have people who want to get and say, yeah, we want this to run well and we're able to put money. But don't forget that at that point when some people also come together, they're also going to protect their own interests. So it's all about money. No man wants to work somewhere and at the end of the month, he will go home
without nothing.
Empty-handed.
Very, very true. All right. Yes, very true. Thank you so very much, Mr. Dotun. That's just about the time we have. And just to let you know, Mr. Dotun Oladipo will be here to take us on our main conversation also, including Sheson Okunwade. And that is when we return. Activists to Showore held in custody over disputed bail terms. Please don't go anywhere. It's still Enterprise Morning.